In this second half of the interview with Carlton Hubbard, Carlton recalls his father's trip to the World's Fair in the mid-1930s and the construction of the Civilian Conservation Corps barracks and camp on the outskirts of Glenwood that subsequently became a prisoner of war camp during the 1940s. Civilian Conservation Corps was fairly active in this area. Do you have any notes on or recollections of the work that they did? I know that there were quite a few projects in and around Glenwood.
Yeah, they first were introduced into the area in 1934, and they did an awful lot of work for the along with the Forest Service, but they helped with the building of the Red Mountain ski area, the lift and cleaning of the areas. I know they helped build a road up onto Lookout Mountain. They did a lot of work for the Forest Service along the White River also. But and I think building picnic areas on Grizzly Creek, it was just a wonderful thing to have them here. It gave the boys a place to live and food, and it was sure helpful for the area.
Was there a camp near town?
At where where Sayre Park is now.
Sayre Park was the CCC tent area? Was that?
It was barracks. I have pictures of the barracks there, and it was a regular camp. Then during the war, it was converted to a prisoner of war camp for a while with fences and spotlights and.
At Sayre Park.
At Sayre Park.
Interesting. There was also one up on the Flat Tops, right? Near Meadow Lake, from what I understand.
Yes, I have a whole folder on the history of the Forest Service that they put together, and they did a lot of work up in the timber area too, helping with in that area as well as helping with the beetle kill. I think they were getting phased out of this area about that time. The CCC was, but they did a lot of work for the Forest Service.
So this prison camp, this prisoner of war camp in the 40s, you would have been a teenager about then. What was the attitude? Were you supposed to stay away from that area? Or, it was outside of town at that point. Right?
Exactly. It was not in the city limits, but it was, as I mentioned, there was fenced and gated, and I believe there was guards there, but everybody was advised not to go too close to it. And of course, people lived all along Grand Avenue, so they had to go by it or that now and then. But that was before the South Park subdivision was put in, so all of those houses were not there. That was a golf course at the time, so there weren't too many homes out there.
So who were the prisoners of war largely?
I believe they were German, the ones that they had brought in.
So your father was pretty much a leader in the community at that time. He was on city council and what you said, the mayor, and beautifying the streets. What other things do you remember about that time and your father's leadership in the community?
Well, as I think I also mentioned, he was Secretary of the Chamber of Commerce, the first one that from the time it began in 1918 or 1919. And in 1933, there was a World's Fair in Chicago, and I think it was under the auspices of the Chamber of Commerce that he attended that convention or that exposition in Chicago. And among the things that I have is a itemized list of his car expenses from Glenwood Springs to Chicago, and he also went up into the state of New York probably to see some relatives, because that's where my mom was from and Dad was from Vermont. But that entire trip for gas and storage overnight, various places, and tire repair, the total trip was $88.24 for
That's amazing.
for it must have been about a 3-week trip, but
That's a round trip by car to Chicago and back.
yeah, and as far as New York
Oh,
State,
New York, yeah,
And back.
with lodging and
this did not include lodging,
Huh.
just the car expenses. And it started out. It says he bought 4 gas books for $40. I guess they had like ration books or something that he used along the way. But the total expenses for the automobile on that trip was $88.24. I think gasoline probably was 12 or 15 cents a gallon at that time. But that was I thought was a very interesting commentary on what the price of things were at that time. But he, to get away on a trip like that in the Depression times in the 30s, I think was pretty
yeah,
good.
Yeah,
There wasn't a lot of travel going on.
for sure.
Another item that was to me was interesting because of the era. Franklin Delano Roosevelt was president, and he had this program which he called the New Deal. And there was a local man by the name of George Wyrick. He went by the name of George Manley also, but he owned the property at the corner of 7th and Cooper, where the Pullman restaurant now is. And he built a garage there, a very nice brick building with entrances both from 7th Street and from Cooper. But he called it the New Deal Garage because he was a Democrat. He was, and according to Ernie Rowe, whose father ran the gas station for quite a while, this George Manley Wyrick was a very stout Democrat, and he believed in it, and so he named his garage the New Deal Garage.
Well, these days that would get you only about half of the community to. You put your politics on your door, and at least 50% of the people aren't going to be there.
You got it, yeah. But I guess back in those days, the Democrats seemed to be in control, and as far as they were concerned, Roosevelt was doing a lot of good things as far as putting people to work with the WPA and the CCC and these kinds of things. So they followed along with him. One other interesting thing that, most people think that during the Depression nothing happens, but things were happening around this area. And an item that I ran onto just the other day, which I had never realized before, it was in 1928 and into 1929, Glenwood Springs had a junior college. There was an article in the 1929 Yampa yearbook, the high school yearbook, telling about how the graduates in 1928 and maybe some just prior to that, there was enough of them that some of the local high school teachers got together a curriculum, and they actually had a junior college class for a year from 1928 to 1929. It mainly consisted of French, Spanish, and of course English. In that, they had math and they had history, but there was 15 students, and the teachers were all from the high school, but they called it a junior college.
I wonder why it never took hold.
I haven't been able to pursue it any further. I haven't had the opportunity. As I say, I just ran onto this article, and I haven't had a chance to look in any of the newspapers. This came out of the 1929 Yampa yearbook. But Glenwood had a junior college. Somehow, my grandmother, Mrs. Hutchings. This is on my mother's side. One of the meetings of the junior college students was held at her apartment. But neither my mom nor my aunt that I know of would have been, they were too old to be there. But anyway, grandmother somehow was involved in it and was helped with some of the meetings.
So she was hosting the meetings and trying to do what she could to
exactly
help with this project.
Exactly.
Carlton Hubbard, thanks so much for being part of the Garfield County Library's Big Read program, and thanks again for all the things that you've done for this community and your family's done for generations in this valley.
Well, you're welcome, Walter, and I enjoy history and I enjoy chatting with you, and I hope the public enjoys this program that the library is putting on.
Thanks again.